It is a rather strange and interesting returnee back from the days of Medarot 3. It is GRH00 Head Locust, with a kit of Effect Clear, Charge Plant, Destroy, Light Legs, and the leg ability of Rumbling, which grants the Fight Boost effect to self when charging Metaforce. Now, not just as a returnee from the very early days, finally making another grand re-debut, as an event reward in addition, Head Locust is anyone that participates will be able to collect freely and easily, and it has a very interesting utility on how he performs on the field. But all the same, it's still a very nasty model that can be a force to be reckoned with if in the right hands. Effect Clear on the head is a conventional melee-based skill that checks the enemy for any positive effects that are in play. These positive buffs can include Radar Sight, Shoot Boost, Guard Boost, Precognition, Hypercrep, Conceal, anything of the like, basically. And then, not only does it check for any of them, it will deal bonus damage for every positive effect that it finds, and then forcibly remove them from the target. So if that enemy on the opposing side likes to abuse Hypercrypt or Precognition, or in the case of ailments likes to abuse Stat Cleanse, you can punish them or even deter them from using it with the point of Effect Clear, kind of making that a point to where if you're going to use a buff, I'm going to remove it and then punish you for doing so. Charge Plant on the right arm is a setup-based skill that, upon placing a plant on the field, will grant an extra amount of Metaforce when charging it on their turn. So instead of granting a 30% upon charging, you will instead get about 40 or 45 or so, as long as that plant remains active. Very, very good in particular for Metaforce Sustain if you cannot quite fit, say, full charge or auto charge leg ability on a field in your particular build. Left Armor Destroy is a gambling-based part that, if in the right hands, can be absolutely catastrophic. And those conditions are, if you can catch a foe in heat phase or in cooldown phase, correctly targeting the part that they are going to use or had used on their turn, it is instantly destroyed. In addition, if the attack is intercepted by any shields that are in play, with the exception of meta change type shields, the shield in question also is guaranteed broken as well. It can be very good as a shield buster skill more than anything else, even if it is kind of a gambling skill to a point. Light Legs means that he will have relatively solid and high base mobility and evade on top of that, and the Rumbling ability actually does kind of synergize moderately well with Effect Clear and Destroy, as it does mean that upon charging Metaforce, not only will Charge Plant come into effect if applied, and getting some extra Metaforce per turn, but you also will be granting Fight Boost to self, which will mean Destroy and Effect Clear, both as melee skills, will be dealing considerably more damage once those effects are live. In terms of the armor department, Head Locust is kind of in that mid-range, essentially, with a head HP of about 3,100, right arm about 3,050, left arm about 3,000, and legs also at 3,000. Pretty decent HP pool, nothing bad, but also not the greatest there is either, unfortunately. And leg stats are kind of abysmal, unfortunately, and that does kind of spell very easy doom for Head Locust. A mobility of 896 and an evade of 1673 are both very, very good and essentially par for the course for flight legs, but a melee resist of 359 and a shoot resist of 574 are both abysmally terrible, as it means even if he's not fighting anyone that's using anti-air against him, which absolutely will spell doom for this Locust type, it means pretty much any hit that lands is going to be immensely painful, as he not only has a decent HP pool, but he's basically got paper armor. So any hit that lands is going to be painful no matter which way you look at it. That being said, as a pure set score, I still do have to rate Head Locust a pretty solid 6 out of 10, kind of a middle-of-the-road mixed utility kind of bot in this case. Now, this isn't to say that he's terrible or has bad stats, well, minus his resist stats on his legs, of course, but he's a mixed utility type that, unless he's fighting in very specific instances or fights, or the enemy has very specific parts they're using, he's kind of just there and not really meant to be there for much more than just Metaforce Sustain and maybe occasionally busting a shield or punishing the enemy for using buffs. As mixed parts, I do have to rate him just a little bit higher at a 6.5 out of 10, given that even though his utility by himself as a pure set is kind of strange, all three parts that are mentioned, Effect Clear, Charge Plant, and Destroy, actually do have some very good utility if used right. Effect Clear is very good for punishing any enemies that are using buffs, as mentioned. Charge Plant is very good for fitting in Metaphor Sustain in the case you can't fit it in your team with, say, Full Charge or Auto Charge or anything else of the like. And Destroy, you generally can't ever go wrong with using either for the sake of having it for that shield busting skill to guarantee and kind of scare off any enemies from using shields and guard or protect their allies.